Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 11th edition of Workplace Conversations. It's a great privilege for me to have you join us. My name is Olumuyiwa Oludayo. I'll be your moderator for tonight, and I'm excited at the opportunity that we have tonight to share a thought with ourselves, to share a thought that I believe will enable us, make the best of our workplaces. Workplace Conversation is a safe space where we come together as professionals across several disciplines and functional areas. It's a place where we talk about the issues of work, the things happening in the workplace, the things that affect our efforts, the things that affect our productivity, the things that impact on our service and contributions, and the things that ultimately we believe our organizations can draw value from. We draw from the experiences of people who are seasoned. We draw from people across disciplines. We've had people from health and safety join us. We've had people from HR. We've had people from all kinds of work, from accounting, from financial services. We've had people from all kinds of industries as well. Oil and gas has joined us. We've had people from oil and gas, from energy, from professional services, from fintech. We've had people from academia join us, FMCG. And so it's a safe space where we have had many, many insights. This is the 11th edition, and I'm glad to have you all join us. Perhaps you're wondering what has happened in the last 10 editions. My colleague Joshua is on the call. He's going to drop in the chat. And so let's be very active in the chat. He's going to drop in the chat the link to all of the previous editions. And you would love to catch up on the things that we have talked about before now. Workplace Conversations hold every month, the last Sunday of every month. And the reason we do it on Sundays is so that people can be in the spirit, quote and unquote, the spirit, so they can be in the mood, right, for the world, for the work on Monday, and they can go with fresh ideas, fresh insight, fresh thoughts for the new week. All right. In in February, today's March. Why March now? In February, we examined workload pressure. We looked at workload pressure, and we asked whether people are always working yet barely winning. Tonight, in the conversation we're having, we're taking the conversation a little further because for many professionals, the pressure of work is no longer about how much they do. It's really about what that effort now delivers for them economically. I've been talking to my friends and I'm saying to them, are you getting the value from your effort? Are you getting value from your effort? Is this the value that you should really be getting from this effort of yours? And I'll give you a few insights, very practical insight, before we go to some of the evidences that we have. I used to have a young man, entry level. I know him very well. Entry level, it was just getting to the world of work. Maybe after 1 or 2 years of graduation, right? He was getting into the world of work. And as is fresh out of school, maybe a year or two, hasn't gotten so many critical insights or critical experiences, as they can call it. And then he has applied to several places, got a job with a particular organization, and then got another job with a distribution company, an electricity distribution company in Nigeria. At the time, the distribution company was paying him, I think, less than 200,000 naira per month. In the course of him, searching for a better job, he got another job, right, with an energy company, an oil and gas company, working across upstream, midstream, and downstream. Maybe they've divested some of their interests in some of this level of streams. Now, he got the job with a new company. Now, this same person, he hasn't added additional degrees. He has not added additional experience. He has not added additional personality, no additional skills. He doesn't know anything additional, no experience, nothing new other than the same person who got the job in the distribution company. Now, he gets a job in this new company and they are paying him more like times seven of what he used to earn, times seven of what he used to earn in what the what do you call it? The energy, the electricity distribution company was paying him times seven. And you will ask yourself, what really has changed? What really has changed? Nothing changed. but he's not getting more value for his effort. Okay, so today's session is anchored in evidence, and this first evidence I want to share with you is this: Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics, the Consumer Price Index report for December 2025 puts the headline inflation at 15.15%, while the average food inflation for the 12-month period in Nigeria stood at 22%. I'll come back with that data because data, I'm an evidence-led person. Maybe my background in research makes me like data. So the National Bureau of Statistics Consumer Price Index, the CPI report for December 2025, puts headline inflation in Nigeria at 15.15%, while the average food inflation for the 12th month period stood at 22%. Now, these figures matter a lot because they directly shape household resilience. How much money, how much can your money pursue? How much can it attract for you? While average food inflation for the 12th month period stood at 22%, these figures matter because they shape our resilience as a household. They shape employee anxiety. They shape how people interpret the value of their work. Someone talks about, this is my take-home pay. My take-home pay is not taking me home. Now, at the same time, organizations continue to expect commitment from their people. Organizations continue to expect adaptability. They continue to expect longer hours. They continue to expect higher output. Now, when effort no longer produces a breathing space for people, something shifts. When the effort I'm putting into the work doesn't produce a breathing space, now you're choking me, something shifts. And motivation then becomes conditional. Loyalty becomes very fragile. Integrity comes under strain because people are now looking at to cut corners. And the psychological contract between the employer and the employee begins to thin out. And so tonight's conversation, I'm glad I have seasoned persons here who have navigated this, who have across industries, and who have even done it for many entities, right? Tonight's conversation is not about agitation. It's also not about entitlement. I'm not here to talk to you about this is what you're entitled to, or all we are saying, let's go solidarity. No, it's about fairness. It's about affordability and sustainability. And that's the ground we are standing on today. But before I bring up my panelists, it's a privilege to let you know that the Workplace Conversations is commissioned by the Nathan Lidgate Company. Nathan Lidgate Company is an organizational management company. I lead the company as her principal consultant, and we're responsible for consulting work across 4 dimensions: people, organization design and development, learning and development. We facilitate a lot of learning solutions, and we do a lot of organization strategy. We've got a lot of frameworks that we use for our work, and that's one of it is what has brought us here today. Later in the year, for those of you who know me personally, there are a couple of events I'm hosting in the year, and a couple of things I've started already and I believe you should take advantage of. Every weekday during the week, Monday to Friday, you will see me publish my Morning Muse with Muyiwa Aludayo. Joshua, my colleague, will also drop in the chat the link to the YouTube channel where you can always pick up daily insights for your journeys. You can also follow us on Instagram to get that done. Every weekend, Saturdays to be precise, we drop what we call phrases and insights. What do we do with phrases and insights? We take a book, because we know many of us lead such busy lives. We take a book, we study the book on your behalf, and we distill information from it across 4 pillars. We look at principles in the book, we look at insights in the book, we look at commentaries, we run our commentaries, and we pick up key phrases on the book that I believe can help you. And then we're here every month, Workplace Conversations, running it every time. We also have what we call the personal transformation seminars. Personal transformation seminars are those seminars where we look within you. We believe that no one can do successful things without first being transformed. We believe in the principle of being precedes doing. You've got to be someone before you can do something. And thereafter, we'll be inviting you to public speaking masterclass. I'm going to be speaking about that just a little later. And then sometime in May, we're going to be starting what I call the Biblical Insights for Professionals. I'm a faith-based person, and I love to speak about my faith and how my faith impacts my work. And so we're going to be having a session where we have Christian professionals sit down together and let's extract and glean insights that can help us in our work. Ultimately, every year, annually, we have what we call Becoming a Consultant to Kings. And that program is about having to solve problems for people with influence. That people who have got influence, and how do you solve problems for them? That's the goal of Becoming a Consultant to Kings. And I'm inviting you to join us across the year for all of these things. The way to get it is to just go on my website, muyiwaludayo.com. Joshua is going to drop that there, and you will be able to catch up. This is one great invitation I'm giving to you. This one is free, and I think you should take advantage of it. It's a public speaking masterclass. I'm inviting you. It's free of charge. And I was just before we opened the meeting up for everyone to join, I was going to tell the panelists, I was about telling the panelists how I remembered many years ago in 2000 and what was it again? 2008. I found myself very broke in the university where I was lecturing, and I thought I needed to get an extra stream of income. And I went to the Center for Entrepreneurial Development Studies to find out how exactly I could make some extra money. Some of the things they were doing there was about tie and dye, grass cutter rearing, printing and publishing, and I knew I didn't have the wherewithal to do that. So, but somebody said, "But you can speak well. Why don't you teach public speaking?" I mean, and I said, "Public speaking. Would any student want to do public speaking as a practical?" But and then, I mean, I started it, and students started to register for the program. Very good. In a semester of 13 weeks, I would teach 2 hours per day per week, 2 hours per week. And at the end of 13 weeks, the university would pay me 30,000 naira. 30,000 naira. That was all I was paid as the public speaking facilitator. And I was doing this for 13 weeks passionately. But today, my friends, I mean, we have moved significantly away from that. Today, sometimes, I'm not going to say all the time, sometimes for a speaking engagement of a day, I mean, I've had clients pay me up to 2 million in a day before. Up to 2 million naira to speak in a day. How did we get there? That's what I want to share with you on this event. And I'm not a commercial public speaker. I'm just someone who goes around with the mastery of his subject, and then goes to get value from that. So if you will join us next month, April 19, 2026, 8 p.m. I love evening meetings. We'll be going on the public speaking masterclass. We're not going to be talking about the techniques. If you go on our website and you go on the YouTube channel, you'll see the last 2 editions of the public speaking masterclass, also very free. There is no hidden charges or hidden fees anywhere. You see the last 2 classes there. Those ones talk about the techniques of public speaking. But this one, I'm going to be talking to you about the economic value of public speaking. So if you will join us, the registration link is there. It will be dropped also in the chat, seller.com/PSM-2026. You can join us. Well, next month, when we'll talk about Workplace Conversations 12.0, we are already set for 12.0. And I know some of our speakers, I've seen one of our speakers for next month already on the call. Next month, we're going to be talking about degrees, skills, and disappointments. How do we fix the broken entry into work? People do not know how to get access to work. We're going to talk about signaling and workplace readiness. And we're going to have employers, those who have hired people, those who are working with entry-level people. How exactly should this be happening? So we're going to be doing this next month. So you can register as well in the course of the event here tonight. You will get the link as well in the chat. So I've said all of this so that I don't have to get in the way of my speakers and I don't have to do announcements in the course of the conversation. I hope you are ready for us tonight. If you are, can I see you say in the chat you're ready for tonight? Can I just see you say you're ready? If you are ready for tonight, let's just have you say, yes, I'm ready. And then I'll be doing the unveiling of our speakers. If I don't have you say you're ready, that means you've not been hearing me. Prince is ready. Temitokwe is ready. Ife is ready. Thank you. Bukola is ready. Winnie is ready for tonight. Winnie, is good to have you ready. Who else is ready? Who else is ready? Who else is ready for tonight? Okay. It's my privilege to bring up our speakers, our panelists for tonight, and I will be introducing them one after the other. Let me start with Damilare Elegbede. Tonight's discussion is very enriched by two professionals whose workplace places them directly at the intersection of pay, performance, and people systems. So let me start with Damilare. Damilare, if you're there, you may want to come up on the screen so that people can see you. Let's unveil. I won't call you the masquerade, right? You're not the masquerade. So let's just
No,
unveil
no, no, no,
you.
no, not at all.
Okay,
Good
so
evening once again, Dr. Mewa.
right. So let me bring Damilare up for you, right? Uh, so Damilare is a human capital consultant, team lead, talent acquisition expert at Wema Bank PLC. He is in that organization. Wema Bank, like you know, is one of Nigeria's most innovative financial institutions, and they are the organization behind Alat. For those of us that know Alat, that's Africa's first fully digital bank. In this role, Damilare has operated at the intersection of talent economics, workforce demand, and organizational sustainability within a very highly regulated, performance driven financial services environment. Anyone who knows financial services in Nigeria knows it's highly regulated and performance driven. If you're not working, you'll be booted out. Damilare's professional experience spans talent acquisition and management, performance management, employee engagement, HR business partnering, and learning and development. And that has given him first-hand exposure into how pay, expectations, skills value, and labor market realities really interact. Damilare also has worked as a senior people partner, where he has delivered people-centric solutions across FMCG, retail, hospitality, financial services, engineering, professional services, information technology, media, and education, just a lot. He's also the founder of Dell J Jobs and Careers, a career focused platform created to bridge the gap between job seekers and hiring managers. I'm sure Damlai will even join us next month because I think you will have a lot to share with us from your experience. And through this growing community of his, he remains closely connected to the lived realities of professionals. He knows their realities. He is connected to the lived reality of professionals navigating employability, pay adequacy, and economic pressure in today's market. Damilare, welcome and thank you for joining us. Does that sound like you? Does that sound like your path? That's what you've been doing in your life, right?
Yeah, 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 it does, it does, it
It
does. But
does. So
then I
that's you.
felt you're able to, help me, jive it a little bit, right?
The
Thank you
beauty
so much,
about
Dr.
these things is that
Mewa.
when many people hear about when they read their profile, they seem to wonder, is
Like,
that me?
are you sure I'm the
Yeah,
one?
that's you. That's you. That's you. Let me bring up Unini, the only lady in our midst tonight, delectable Unini. Unini and I have shared how many years now? Unini, how many years have we known each other for? Is Unini here? Yes, she is,
Yes,
isn't it?
sir. We have known ourselves for
How many years?
about 14 years.
14 years. Oh my God. Almost 2 decades. How long have I known my wife? If I've known you for 14 years, it's amazing, Unini, to have you here. Unini is one person who has traversed my former life. She used to be my former life when I had a different job. She's seen me in my former life, my different job, and today she's also continuing to collaborate with us in this space. She's a people and organizational professional. She's got strong exposure to talent development, career progression, and employee experience conversations. Her work engages directly with how people interpret value, how they interpret fairness, how they interpret opportunity at work, particularly in the labor market of Nigeria that is shaped by rising costs, shifting expectations, and evolving career pathways. Tonight, Unini brings an important lens to the conversation. How does pay and fairness, how are they experienced emotionally and behaviorally? Besides the fact that Unini is a professional across multi sectors, she also has the mother's hat that she wears, the wife's hat that she wears, where she knows if the pay is not coming in and it's not complete, we did feel the pinch somehow. We did feel the pinch somehow. So in a bid not to feel the pinch, she's here to tell us how it happens. So thank you both for joining us. Can we please welcome them with an applause in the chat? Just welcome them with an applause and help me thank them. We've done a bit of introductions, a bit of an applause. Can you please welcome Unini and Damilare? Thank you so much. Help me welcome them. Let them feel good. Let them feel comfortable. Let them feel like they are not alone here. You are not, guys are not alone. I'm also here with you. Okay, great. Now let's start. Let's start tonight. And the first thing we're going to do tonight is to give the voice to the people. I'm going to release a poll, and I want all of our participants to look in the chat. You would see a poll come up now. The poll should come up right away. And I think I'm asking you 2 questions at a go. Once you see the poll, just let me know. Have you seen the poll? Not yet. Okay, let's launch the poll again. Launch. Okay, I don't think my poll wants to launch tonight. I don't know why. Prepared a good meal for you. You should see it. Okay, the poll is not launching, so I possibly will come back to it at the right time. I think I'll come back to the poll. Okay, it should be ready now. I'll come back to the poll at the right time. Well, let's see. Is it coming up? No, it's not. So I'll come back to it. I was going to give voice to the participants before we started. But let me go straight to Damilare. Damilare, let's begin with you. Let's begin by clarifying what we mean by fairness. You know, sometimes you hear your colleagues telling you at work, this is not fair. What kind of money is this? It's not fair. Damilare, let's clarify what we mean by fairness. From a human capital and an employer perspective, you've done a lot of hiring. How do organizations typically define fair pay? When organizations say fair pay, where do you see the biggest gap between that definition and employees' perception?
All right. So once again, thank you once again, Dr. Muiwa, for this session, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the call. So basically, this session is going to be very, very, honest, sincere, and then of course, I believe in the course of the session, you'd also have the chance to contribute your voice, right? So we'll just, delve straight into it. And I've also prepared a few things, so I'll just be sharing insights, maybe some facts, and then of course, bringing insight from past experiences and all of that. So when we look at the term fairness, right, what exactly are we talking about? And then, of course, when we talk about this definition, it means different things to different people. So it just depends on where you are, at a particular period of time or point in time in your career, right? But just to give a general definition of what fairness is about, right? So first off, fairness is the perception that outcomes, decisions, and processes are just, consistent, and reasonable, right? Not just in how they are designed, but in how they are experienced by people. So fairness is much more about how people feel, how people feel they are being treated, right? And all of that. But let's bring it to, let me put some context to it with regards to the workplace. So when it comes to the organization and employees and all of that, so what exactly is fairness? So to employees, for instance, when we talk about fairness, we are talking about, getting a reward system that is commensurate to the value you're giving the organization, right? So we are talking about am I rewarded appropriately, for my contribution to the organization, right? So we can look at fairness in that angle. The second cardinal point would be, as an employee, am I being treated um, better, compared to my other colleagues? So that's some sort of an issue where an employee feel less of themselves on the job, probably because their line manager prioritize certain people above them and all of that. So we can also look at fairness in that angle. The fact that I'm putting in the work, I'm doing my best. Sometimes I do late night, but for some reason, I'm not getting the recognition, I'm not getting the applause, I'm not getting the reward and all of that. So we can look at fairness from that angle as well, right? And the third one for me would be more around communication, how organizations, you know, communicate with employees, especially when it comes to maybe certain decisions that needs to be made within the organization, maybe a restructuring and stuff like that. Are they clearly communicated to employees, right? Right. So in a sense, that also speaks to um some level of fairness. So there's something I'm also going to be doing, which would be to also let us know how organizations typically define fair pay, right? How do organizations define fair pay for instance? And then I've got about three key pillars, to buttress that point. And then number one we need to know is internal equity. Internal equity is very, very key. It's something that ensures that employees in similar roles, right, with comparable experience and performance, are
Mm,
paid within a consistent range. For instance, that speaks to
mm,
equity. So, for instance, I currently work in the financial services space. And then, so we have different grading structure. Well, I think I'll get there as I move on. But the first one is internal equity. The second one is market benchmarking. All right. So I've also been in organizations where before we carry out a salary review, we would have to engage some consultant firms, right? Consulting firm rather, Big Four, typically KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, and the likes, to help with market benchmarking, uh, using the 25%. 50% or
percentile.
70 percentile, benchmarking, right? It just depends on where the organization is at that point in time. Their capacity to pay determines the percentile to use when it
Mm,
comes to that bit, right? And the third one is salary bands and grading structure, right? And then this helps organization to maintain consistency and control costs. So when we talk about salary bands, it means different things for different people. So in consulting I used to work in Deloitte, and then we had various grading structure from associate to a semi-senior to senior associate one, senior associate two, and then if you fall into that any of these grades, there's like a salary band for that grading structure. Currently, find myself in the banking sector, and then probably for those of us who must have worked in the bank at some point, you would also know that we had different grading structure. So from entry level to assistant banking officer to banking officer to senior banking officer to assistant manager and all of that. So regardless of where you fall within the grade band, right, it determines the kind of pay that you would be given in essence. So I believe in the course of this conversation, we'll also get to
yeah.
know more about it. But just to, summarize the three key cardinal points, which organizations use to typically define fair pay is internal equity, market benchmarking, and then of course salary bands and grading structure. Okay, so
Mm.
moving on, Dr. Uma, should I just carry on, or you want to
No, no, just I think
except?
I will ask Unini. Let me just
Okay,
ask Unini. Thank you very
okay.
much. Thank you very much for that. So I wanted I like your perspective from how organizations define fair pay, right? I like that part where it is about they use internal equity. Are we paying the people on the same role, the same experience, the same performance? Are we paying them about the same thing? And then market benchmarking, what is being paid by our competitors or other people within the same industry? What are they paying this kind of person, this kind of for this kind of job?
Correct.
And then you're talking about salary bands. How am I able to put people together so that within a rank, you're getting what you need to get. Now, Onini, I want to come to you from an employee experience lens. That's how organizations say they do fairness. Fair pay for them is equity, market. This is what market is paying, and this is what I think I can afford. But from the employee experience lens, how do you think people interpret fairness, particularly when their effort remains constant, but their purchasing power begins to decline? How do people consider fairness? Excuse me, Onini. How do they consider fairness when their effort their effort continues to be constant, it's constant or maybe even increasing, but their purchasing power is declining? I'm sure they don't think of it the same way anymore. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Oluzayo, for this opportunity. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking out your evening to join this conversation. So, from the employee perspective, what do people consider as fairness, especially when their efforts is constant but purchasing power declines? So, first of all, I want to establish two things that would that control what people interpret as fairness, and especially when purchasing power drops. So the first is what we call psychological contract. Now, for context, and for anyone here that doesn't know what psychological contract means, it just means that there are set of implicit expectations that people have in the workplace. It's beyond the written contract that you have. So just as how in your contract you have you're expected to work from 9 to 5 p.m. You're supposed to do XYZ as a job description, and you'll be paid this amount of money. You're entitled to what HMO, blah blah blah, credits, allowance, all of that. So you already have an expectation naturally that okay, at the end of the month, I'm going to get this amount of money as my net pay. Likewise, you have certain expectations from the organization, and the organization has certain expectations for you. But beyond these expectations, people have a psychological expectation that you just have. It's just like maybe in a relationship, you're in a relationship with someone, and you expect the person to be caring, to be nurturing, to call you and check on you. And if the person doesn't call you and check on you, you're like, didn't you know I was not feeling fine? You know how we do all those emotional blackmail. So it's kind of the same thing in the workplace. And so when your input or your effort is constant and purchasing power declines. Now, purchasing power decline, it might not necessarily be the organization's fault. It could be as a result of the economy, which in the case of Nigeria is what we experience every single time. And so when this happens, people start having this expectation as, doesn't the employer know that fuel has increased?
Mm,
What does this mean for me? And you start having expectations like they should, we don't even have to ask, they should know that
mm,
our salaries need to be increased. Or
mm,
I have worked in this organization for 3 years. They should know I
mm,
should be due for promotion. They should
mm,
know I'm thinking what the next step is in my career. So we
mm,
have these certain expectations, and most times people don't voice this thing out. Like I said, like a relationship, sometimes you have these demands, these emotional needs, but you don't want to voice it out. You
mm,
expect your partner to, you know, to be a psychic and figure it out. So yeah, these things happen in the
mm,
workplace as well. The second thing is that
mm,
no matter what or how loyal an employee is,
mm,
an employee can never be more loyal to an organization than they are loyal to themselves or their needs. And
mm,
so even if you are an honest person, you are a professional, you're giving your best to the workplace, when things shake your comfort zone, you tend to react.
mm,
So, take for example, now with the past few weeks, people have been crying out about the rising fuel costs. Your employer expects you to still show up at work every single day, Mondays to Friday.
yeah.
You're burning fuel, you're
Mm,
spending more transport money than before. And so, this affects your purchasing power. And we know in Nigeria, when fuel increases, it's not just fuel that increases, food,
mhm,
rent, every
mhm,
other thing is like a house of cards that just comes crumbling. And so, you're now uncomfortable. You can no longer afford the maybe data you usually buy, you can no longer afford certain luxuries. Maybe you take your family out every weekend. You can't do that because obviously purchasing power has dropped. And so you're not comfortable, you are reacting. And then, a lot of things start to happen from there. And first of all, this is quiet frustration. So you come
Mm,
to work and you're
mm,
frustrated. Maybe they call for a meeting and the meeting is longer than the usual 30 minutes. And you're like, what are we even talking about here? Can this meeting end so people can do this?
mhm,
Work
mhm.
closes, and due to one thing or the other, you're being delayed and you're thinking, I'm not paid enough for this. You know,
Right.
so
Right.
silent frustration starts building. And
Mm,
usually, what will happen is many things will happen from here. One, you might seek to have that conversation with the employer, either through the HR or depending on how the organization structure is. Most organizations will say there's open door policy. So feel free, walk into the director's office and have that conversation. And so, if that is your case and you can walk in to have that conversation, either you start thinking of how you can have that conversation, um, and then, depending on how the employer reacts, that begins to shape different narratives. If the employer reacts positively and you see that they are taking steps to improve the situation, either they want to do an inflation increase for everybody's salary cut across board, or maybe for you, they want to do maybe some organizations do transportation allowance now, just a
mhm,
little
mhm.
something apart from your salary that comes in separately just to support staff. you know these are efforts that the employer is making. It might not
Right.
really help the situation, but you see that person making an effort. And so as an employee, you're like, they tried. Or maybe the employer will say, we can't afford to pay more right now, but we can
Mm,
consider flexibility, so you don't have to
mm.
come every single day at work. You can do
Right.
some days at home, and we'll provide you data allowances. Not bad. So you see, there's this negotiation, and so things begin to adjust. Now, if the employer is adamant to considering flexibility or increasing your pay, then you're frustrated. Then you start to see that this organization is selfish. They're not thinking about me. I am coming every day. I am giving my all. I was stuck in traffic for 5 hours last night. They don't know about this. You
Mm,
start, your frustration begins to, you know, become this huge thing. And then you start to think, I need to get another job. I need to leave this place. You start to apply for jobs and so on and so on. The whole card start crumbling. So yeah,
right.
this is how an employee
Right.
consider things.
Thank you. Thank you, Nini. And that takes me to a few things that I've seen that employees do. Employees become very transactional. They become very transactional when these things happen to them. When their pay loses meaning, right? When their pay loses meaning, their effort becomes transactional. They will come to work only if they are needed. They will only come to
Yeah.
work. They will not stay longer than 5 o'clock, because after 5 o'clock they will miss the person that's supposed to hitch a ride with. This is a guy that normally before now will stay longer, but now if he's going to miss Damilare's vehicle that is going his way, he's not going to do any extra thing. In fact, by 4:30, he's claiming that he's in the restroom. On 4:30 there, he just takes off. He's gone. He becomes very transactional with the thing that he does. Right. I believe that those are some of the things that we need to watch out for, really, as the things will go. Okay. Now, thank you, Unini, but I'm still going to stay with you. I'm going to stay with you, Unini. And this time I want to ask you about how to look at the consequences of pay pressure. Because how exactly does cost of living, the pressure of cost of living, tomatoes have gone high, everything has gone high. How does the cost of living pressure show up in workplace behavior, even when people remain formally employed? For me, I've seen people just take out their initiative. A place where people you need to use their discretion to get things done. You say, I beg. But let me not, what do you call it? Let me not preempt you. How do you see the behavior of people changing when the cost of living pressure shows up in their lives?
Okay, so being HR, I can go on and on, giving you or practical and real life examples of what we see every day at the workplace. One of it can even be recently a staff comes and says, "Hey, I want to have a conversation with you." As a matter of fact, when I saw I want to have a conversation, I already know where it's going to. And then this person comes and says, see, after next week, I don't know how I'll be coming to work. And human resources, we are kind of at the center of everything. You are also an employee, so you better not overstep your boundaries with the management. And then
mm.
you are also part of the management, so you have
That's right.
to answer as management. And so, so this person comes and says, after next week, I don't know how it comes to work. Fuel has increased and all of that stuff. You have to go to the director for us. You have to, and I'm thinking, this person's salary was reviewed just 2 months ago. What are you talking about? Like, how do I even pick up that conversation? But he's not wrong. 2 months ago, it was reviewed because we had, like, he raised certain complaints which were valid about pay and cost of living. Very valid. And this is somebody that is very committed, to be honest. He is very, very good at his job. He's a professional. You can count on him to deliver. Sometimes he's someone that you can catch him working over the weekend, and we the work eats into his personal time, and he doesn't mind because he's that committed. There was one time I even told him, okay, just in case, since we're going to approach management with your case, in case salary is not reviewed, what other options would you be willing to consider? Do you want to consider working from home? And he didn't really like that idea because he felt like out of sight is out of mind. If he's
Mm,
not in the office, he will lose out on
mm,
relevant
mm. That's another
information,
perspective. Yeah.
meetings,
Yeah.
and the director might no longer be as dependent on him as she
Mm,
is when he's available. And so this was his concern. That's to show that he is very, very involved and dedicated with his role. It's not just about the pay, but then pay obviously is very important. So
right.
we had a conversation, we pitched it through management and they increased the salary. Now, well, has gone up. And then he's saying, so what's gonna happen? And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen because
Right.
how do we
Right.
make that conversation? It was just 2 months ago you had a pay review. How do you want us to do that again? And I was like, let's see. Either we will consider other options if need be. But for now, I told him, I said, you have to prove your loyalty. You have to show skills, like more skills. You have to bring more to the table because then the employers to have psychological contracts too, because they're like, we increase your pay. What do we
Mm-hmm.
gain for this?
Yeah.
And so we can see how the economy and the pressure, it mounts a lot of pressure in the workplace. And this changes employees' behavior. It makes people who are loyal and dedicated to their work become disloyal and they start looking elsewhere. Now, sometimes
Mm,
what even happens is if you see an organization where people are not leaving, is one or two things. It could mean that the organization is offering their employees something more than pay.
mm-hmm.
And this could be a very wonderful, conducive working environment. It could be that
Right.
the organization has prioritized health plans because let's be very honest, some organizations now with the rising cost of things, they have said, oh, we can no longer afford to pay the full comprehensive HMO packages that is for
Mm,
staff and family. Yes,
really?
some organizations will only put staff and tell you they are sorry, they can't pay for family anymore. And if you want to include your family, a certain amount might be deducted from your salary. And so maybe an organization has said we can increase salaries, but your HMO will be untampered with. And so when you consider everything, we still have comprehensive HMO. Maybe we can work from home. Probably there is more flexibility. The management is more understanding. Truthfully, employees can see that the organization is struggling and not making as much profit. All of these things might have a way of helping the employee manage their expectations. And but in situations whereby none of this is existing, the employee would definitely be applying for jobs elsewhere. The only reason why an
Right.
employee might not leave is if the opportunities they're getting out there is not as good as what they have currently, or the opportunities that um or they are not even getting any opportunities at all. So it could be
Right.
that you're not getting any opportunities, you're applying, you're going for interviews, but nothing has come up. Or what has
Mm-hmm.
come up, you've weighed the options there and said, I better just stay where I am. It's not worth it. This is why
Right.
people will stay in an organization. So if
Right. Thank you.
well, a lot of things I
No,
can go
no,
on
no.
and on and on. There's so
No,
much
thank you.
there's
I
so
mean,
much to say
I
about
can imagine
employee
because in my,
behavior.
yeah, I can imagine. But in my own experience, right, I've seen that people's behavior change when, like I said earlier on, they reduce their discretionary effort. They begin to, they withdraw their initiatives. They withdraw all those creativity that they were making available to you. They will say, after all, he's not paying for it. After all, he's not paying for it. They remove it.
Exactly.
Yeah. After all, he's not paying for it. I used to do more than this. I beg, who won't die? This is not my father's business. They just let it go. Things around the
Exactly.
emotional
And,
commitment, the
and
emotional deposits that they give you before they begin to withdraw
mm,
it. They become absent. But only there was something you said that I think we need to zoom in on. I've never heard it before in the light you said it. Honestly, I've never heard it before in the light you said it. You would think that many people want to take them, and I'm going to start with you on this anyway. You would think that people would jump on work from home. But the narrative you gave was the guy says, hey, if I work from home, that phrase of out of sight is out of mind.
Out of mind.
If I choose to work from home very soon, they will not be calling me again.
yeah.
And that's the truth. Because if your boss is someone that loves presence, he loves physical presence, and he walks, looks into the room, oh, Muiwa is working from home. But okay, call me Michael there. And Michael begins to deliver very soon. Muiwa, forget it, forget it, forget it. You will soon be out
Michael will
of
take your
touch.
place. Yeah.
And I think I like Michael will take your place. So I think I like that perspective to say, why are you choosing to want to work from home? Why are you choosing to want to work from home? You better don't choose to work from home in an organization where you may lose your visibility.
Hmm.
If your visibility is going to be at risk because you are choosing to work from home, then are you ready to pay that price?
Hmm.
I like that part. I like that part of the conversation you said very well. So David, let me come to you. Thank you so much, Unini. Thank you so much for that. That was something that many years of experience has not given me. You see why you are good here. Right. So Damilari, again, I'm going to make you speak from the employer side as an employer. Speak to us as an employer.
Hmm.
What do you risk? What do you think employers risk when pay pressure is ignored? You can see that the people
Hmm.
have pressure and the employer is ignoring it or is not able to manage it very well. What are the risks to the business?
Okay, so that's a very good question, Dr. Wewa. So I'm looking at how to tackle it. Okay, so I know Onini has actually mentioned a few things regarding that, but let's just focus on organizations that for some reasons they just decide, you know what, it is what it is. So I think the first thing they would lose would be retention, right? So there's going to be a lot of attrition rates, and then of course there's going to be a lot of challenges around retention, retaining your top talent, basically. And if we look at the trajectory within the corporate space in the past 5 years down the line, you would notice that, well, probably because I do a lot of talent acquisition work. So I'm going through a candidate CV,
TV.
right? And then I discover that this person is probably doing 6 months, 8 months on a job. And then you want to come and work with my organization. Now, for some reasons, I'm also scared that if I should bring you on board, there's every likelihood that in max 1 year you're out, right?
Exactly.
So this just gives a perspective to the fact that number one, um, gone are the days where gone are the days where employees can stay on a job, let's say for 20, 15, 20 years, right?
Right.
All in the name of job security and all of that. Well, our parents, I don't know how they did it, 30 years of service in one organization, and then they were able to send five children to school up onto university level. I don't know how they were able to achieve that. But in this current, climb, it doesn't work anymore, right? So employees are beginning to be much more selfish about their own career, right? They are beginning to see that there's a way out. So if I want to earn more, I need to give more value, have the necessary certifications that would give me that quote and unquote, what I call asymmetric advantage, where if this organization is not really giving me what I want, I have what it takes, to move to another
Move.
organization. So the very first thing an employer would lose is if they are not addressing the pay pressure issue would be they are going to lose their top talent, certainly.
Mm.
And they are not just losing their top talent, they're also losing institutional knowledge, right? Because you have people that already know the ins and the outs of your business, they know how to find their way around it. And I tell people when it's not just about someone leaving your organization, it's about can you get a like for like talent? If you get what I mean. So what I'm trying to say is, for instance, I have a performance manager, in my setup, and then he is very good with competency framework. He was able to put structures in place of my organization. But then I felt, oh, there are other performance managers in the market. So if you feel that you are becoming too important and then you want more pay, then you can as well leave and then
Go.
I'll bring in someone else. Now, the implication of that is when you try to replace someone that, left the organization, it might not be plug and play immediately. So
Right.
it means that the person might still have to, bed in, try to understand your business, try to understand the processes in place and all of that. And it takes a lot of time. So the implication of that is that it's going to affect your business in a way. It's going to affect performance. It might, if it's a market facing type of business where you need a lot of relationship managers to go out there, bring in
Right.
money. And then for
Right.
some reason, you have one of the best hands trying to leave, and it's down to pay pressure.
Mm.
And guess what? The truth is, it's so weird that you just got a new offer, right? Let's say you've even resumed 1, 2 months into the organization. In less than 5 months, another organization is already reaching out to you, trying to put you away from where you are. So that is how volatile the talent
Right.
space is right now. So just to answer that question, employers need to be more aware that it's what's the word now? An employee ward. Talent, if you're a top talent, you have a say in your career trajectory. So if this organization is not giving me what I want, then I have what it takes to move. So that's one. Basically, retention issue is going to be there. We've also mentioned productivity issues, right? I think the third thing I will probably want to talk about will be integrity and compliance risk. And probably because I work in the banking space, so I can be very limited in the kind of examples I want to give because we have quite a lot of compliance risk issues, within the financial services. And I'm sure there are a couple of news that we're probably aware of. The one that happened to a Tier 1 bank where an employee, uh, absconded with almost 40 billion. There's just a lot of issues around that, but we can't even begin to unpack that, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you're able to put the guy in a room and then you ask him why did you do what you do or something like that, what you
Hmm.
did, he might want to justify it, but I don't know. But in a sense, it's I'm not tying it to anything. I'm not justifying anything whatsoever.
Right.
It's still a conversation around, peer pressure and all of that. So the last thing I would speak on would be employer branding. So we found ourselves in a space where it's a social media world. Almost as a corporate, as a professional, you're probably on LinkedIn, you're on Glassdoor. You know what everybody is saying about this organization. I work in the financial services space. Off the top of my head, I can tell you three banks that are leading the market when it comes to pay, right? Because when we look at the salary benchmarking, so we have leading, we have matching, and then we have lagging. So I can tell you banks
Right.
that are currently, leading the market, banks within the 50 percentile, and then
Space.
banks that are probably, yes, to 20, 25 percentile. So, and then information flies around. So employees or potential employees know that, okay, you know what, there's certainly no reason moving to this organization. Number one, their pay is low, and number two, they'll probably enforce that you come to work every day, from Monday to Friday. So within the financial services, for instance, there are a couple of banks that they've adopted a hybrid working model, fully, just a couple of them. But then there are still quite a lot that they are fully bent on fully on site. And then you now have a particular department. In fact, I heard a story recently where um um almost 80% of the tech team in a particular bank, they had to leave, they had to resign just because the bank came up with a policy of fully on site. So they used to do, remote working before,
Are you
right? But
kidding me?
for some weird reason, somebody just came into the scene, maybe the group head of the department, and then said, you know what? It's going to be fully on site. These tech people, they are working for you, but then they're also doing like five other jobs with other, and then for that
Right.
reason, it made it compulsory that, you
Right.
know what, all of you, oh yeah, start coming to work. And guess what? In 2, 3 weeks down the line, your registration started flying around. And it's also what it is because it shows that as an HOD in a unit, you are not even you're losing touch of reality. So at this point in time, it's not just about I want to see you physically in the office. So if you can deliver from your room, I think I'm fine with it, right? So long
Right.
as the KPIs are set and you're meeting your numbers, it's fine. You don't necessarily have to show up in the office. But then when we are still living in that tradition of I need to track your working hours. I need to track that you are truly, truly praying by coming to work. Considering what is going on right now, there's going to be a
Right.
lot of issues. Yeah. So, and then last thing I would say is, so to solve this issue in a bit, also beginning to see some organization even reviewing their resumption time. So the traditional way is 8 to 5. So some now do you resume 10 o'clock, you probably close 4 p.m. They're just able to put some flexibilities in place just to cater for the needs of their employees at this point in time,
Let me
right?
not let
So
me
I
not let
think
me, let me not make you come to solutions yet.
so
So
don't let
because
me go there. Don't
yeah,
let me
yeah. So I just wanted us to articulate the problems, and I'm going to ask the audience to speak. Thank you so much, Damilari. I'm going to ask the audience a question now, and you all get your pads right. I want to ask you a question because my poll is not working. I don't know what happened. I tested it before the call. I was even asked to test it before the call, but somehow it's not coming on again. Thank you, thank you so much, Damilari. My question is to the audience now. My colleagues, my friends on the call. Here's my question to you, and I need you to please be very honest with me. I need to be very, very honest with me. It's this. How would you describe your current experience of pay relative to effort? How would you describe your current experience of pay relative to effort? I'm going to put the question, I'm just going to drop it in the chat, right? And I need you to just tell me whether you are A, B, or C. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Just help me answer the question by choosing whether you are A, B, or C. That's I'm just going to do that if you don't mind. How would you describe your current experience of pay relative to effort? Can you help me respond to that question in the chat? How would you describe your current experience of pay relative to effort? For some people, your pay maybe just fairly reflects your effort. For some other people, my pay barely keeps up with my efforts. My pay feels disconnected from my effort. I'm unsure what fair pay even means anymore. Like, can I see your response, everybody? Can we start to respond? A, B, C, or D? Joshua, where do you belong? Bukola, where do you belong? Ife, where do you belong? Moses, that's a B. And we're counting already, Joshua. We're counting already. Where do we feel? How do you describe your current experience of pay compared to your efforts? 2 people have voted. I'm looking for more people to vote. All right. Amazing. Okay. Okay. We've just got 7 of 20 votes, 7 of 19 votes. Or should I say of 20 votes? 7 of 20 votes. We've not gotten up to 50% yet. Olawale, Oluwaseun, Tofumi, Priye, you've not voted yet. Ifedakwo, I'm looking forward to your vote. Okay, Ifedakwo, you voted. Sorry, forgive me. I picked it. Tofumi, Throne, Victory. Zainab, I've not seen your vote. I'm hoping to see it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of 20 votes. Just a few more persons to just help us compute. Okay. Thank you, Tofumi. Thank you, Fai. Maybe 1 or 2 more, and then we can close this question. Throne, I'm waiting for you. Priye, I'm waiting for you. Thank you, Victory. Priye, how about you? Olawale Olatunde. Hoping to hear you as well. Ruth. Thank you, Priye. Thank you so much. All right, Joshua, what do we have? A, B, C, D in terms of numbers. What do we have? The question is, okay. The question again for everyone is, how would you describe your current experience of pay relative to your efforts? Eight of the people who have voted said their pay is okay. 8 says the pay is okay. It's all right. It's not a bad thing. Then 4 people have said their pay barely keeps up with their effort. And then 5 people have said their pay feels disconnected from their effort. Nobody is saying that their pay, they don't even know what fair pay means. Thank you very much. Damilare has helped us with, and Onini has helped us with fair pay. So majority of those on the call say here, and everybody you are representing the world of work today, you are saying, majority of us have said here that my pay fairly reflects my effort, but 9 of 17 do not think that 9 of 17 do not think that the pay they get really refers to their effort. And the question for us is this. So this conversation proceeds from the assumption that something has shifted in the pay effort relationship, and that maybe the silence or denial will not restore confidence. So tonight we have been able to identify that as good as my organization is, there is a gap. There is a gap. There is a gap. Thank you very much, Joshua. Damilare, I'm going to bring you back up as we try to close tonight. As we try to close tonight. And since you started to speak about a solution, what realistic options do organizations have in an inflationary environment like Nigeria, where salary increases alone may not be sustainable? Because let's be very frank, Unini also mentioned it. Salary increases may not be sustainable. I have a client right now who is asking me to say, Doctor, I need you to help me come and review salary. I said, Madam, well, we did this thing last year. I said, she said, but the people are complaining. I said, do you know that when you increase salaries, you are also increasing your own total personnel costs? All of your remittances are also going to go up. All of your remittances are going to go up. All of your obligations going to go up. It's not the take home alone that the people are looking at. And with this new tax law, you cannot just say you are increasing them by giving them cola. Is cola not benefit in kind? Because cola is benefit in kind that is also now taxable.
Yeah.
Meaning whatever you give them now, they will still not be able to say, you say, let's add 20,000 to everybody. They cannot also get that 20,000 fully. Because government will say it has a benefit in kind that also must be taxed. So my question to you, sir, is this. What realistic options do organizations have in an environment where salary increases alone may not be sustainable?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that question, Dr. Mwewa. So, there's something I want to quickly chip in, then I would answer those questions.
Right.
So it's also good to understand that organizations are also under a lot of serious pressure at this point in time, right? Looking at the current reality of the economy, fuel price and all of that. So it's eating everybody, And then in fact, I feel the pressure is even more on the organization, more in the sense that how do we okay, let me put it this way. So it's on both sides. So maybe more on the employees, but the employer is also thinking of how do I remain in business? So how do I remain sustainable, going forward? So and of course, like you rightly mentioned, the solution is not just all about salary review and all of that. I used to work in consulting, and every year we do salary review, right? We do salary review every year. I'm talking about KPMG, Deloitte, TY, and the likes. Every year there's a salary review. But despite the yearly salary review, people are still leaving. And the reason for leaving is not just about the salary. So number one, employees are telling you
You're one of those that left, by the way, just so we put it in context. You're one of those that left. Let's buy salary review. So you left as well. Okay. All right. We can hear.
So employees are saying, okay, so the my monthly net is okay, it's fine, it's fantastic. But then I'm going on leave. There's nothing like leave allowance, right? So you're telling me that my leave allowance has already been factored into my monthly net pay, right? So that's one. A performance bonus. There's nothing like performance bonus. And then of course, when it comes to performance bonuses at the discretion of the organization. So whether the organization make profit or not, they can decide to pay or not to pay. You can't sue them. It is not, that clause is not captured in your offer letter, right? So in the consulting space, they don't really enjoy what we call performance bonus. They do profit sharing, but it is also not fantastic. When we talk about HMO package and all of that, it's just not so fantastic. And then despite the fact that I'm earning my 1.5 million, my 2 million, employees still feel that, you know what, that is just not enough. I want more. And then for that reason, a lot of people start migrating from consulting to industries. So now, to answer that question, aside from the pay. So what else can be done? What else can organization do? And this is where we now we are looking at, rethinking our total rewards package and strategy and all of that. So the very first thing I would say would be, what exactly are the pain points of employees? What are their pain points? Number one, you need to have a robust HMO package in place. So it's possible that the pay might not be so fantastic, but you know that the HMO package is robust enough, to cater for the medical needs of that employee. So, say for instance, the employee is also married with 4 kids. So, if at all there's any issue medically, the HMO, provides for that. And trust me, there are organizations that they don't even cover HMO. They pay you handsomely, but when you have any medical issues, they expect you to pay from pocket for that. And trust me, it is not funny. When you see medical bills, you know that it's just not funny. So when you have an organization that is very, very intentional about their employees, they should be able to have a robust plan in place. So where I work, for instance, one of the value proposition that we enjoy is not just the regular HMO, yourself, your spouse, and 4 kids. So there's also an HMO package, that covers for, we call it elderly care HMO. So what that means is that, so if you have your parent, let's say your dad or your mom, and then so from 60 and above, we regard them as senior citizens, right? So you can either register your dad or your mom on that package. So what it means is that
Right.
for any issues at all, that package is going to sort it, and then you don't have to pay out of pocket, for that. And
Right.
currently, I recently enrolled my mom on that package, and then she's been going in and out of the hospital just to do some checks. And then after she has
Wow.
done it, I'll just get a notification that they'll give me a name. It was at this hospital, and this is the total cost of a bill, right? So should they proceed to make that payment? That's my HMO now advising me. I just click on a yes
Wow.
button, go ahead and make the payment. As in, I'm free. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Wow.
So so
Yes,
so so
yes,
that
yes.
so that is
Mm-hmm.
another thing because Nigeria is just it's if you live in Nigeria, it's a very hard country to live in. So aside from the pay, if I can just sort out the medical bills of my staff, trust me, some would stay. Even for the sake of their family, they would
That's
stay,
right.
right? So, and then when it now comes to me leaving my organization to another organization, these are the questions I want to be asking my potential employer. How robust is your HMO plan? Right? So it's not just about what you want to pay me now. So how robust is the HMO plan? So that also can, cover the pressure, that we are currently
Right.
facing. So
Right.
another thing well, a couple of I know there's also an organization that does spousal allowance. I think InterSwitch does something like that, right? Pension contribution as well, very, very important. I think I'll just stop at that point. There's another thing I want to mention very quickly, and that speaks to introduction of non-cash value levers as well. So there are organizations that they also have a very good transport system for their employees. So you having to jump, especially if you don't, even if you have a car, fueling your car now, it's a luxury. The last time I was trying to fuel my car, we had to spend 50K, and even with that 50K, we couldn't fuel the tank. It was just the
Oh
whatever
my.
was it, that regulator
The
was just
gauge,
in
the
the
gauge, eh?
middle. The
The
gauge was
gauge
just
was
in the middle. I'm like, can you imagine? 50K, 50K is just
because
gone.
it's
You
because you
know,
drive a big car, sir. It's because you drive a
no,
big
no,
car,
no.
sir.
That's not way. That's not it. So imagine that my organization is able to put a transport system in place where I can just join them in the morning and then they take me to and fro. I can just conveniently park my car in the house and then just take join the staff bus. Some organizations are beginning to, what's the word? Um, phase out the transport system. And I was just having a conversation with a colleague recently, and I think she currently works in an insurance company. And she was telling me that, their company, they are looking to scrap the transport system. And I'm like, I don't understand. Is it in this economy that staff board are you've been giving to everybody to use all of a sudden because fuel has gone up and all of that? You are now saying employees need to, now find their way to the office and all of that. And I'm like, okay, so if you want to do that, then you must have a better alternative, to cater for that. So is it that you're now going to create a transport allowance framework, that just caters for that. So the transport system would help cushion the effects, meal subsidies as well. There are some organizations that they are doing this really, really well. So you go to the office. I know a couple of oil and gas companies that does that. A couple of organizations within the financial space also they are doing that. So you just come into the office. You can have fruit, you can have something very light to eat, and then lunch. There's also something in place for that. So that also because these are the things that it's part of it should be part of an employer-employee value proposition. It should also form your retention strategy. So the focus is not just salary review, salary review. Can we also put all these other frameworks in place,
Right.
at least to keep
Right.
our guys?
Right.
Yeah, so we've talked about hybrid, data, utility allowance. I think all of that, they are the barest minimum, basically. So I think I would
Thank you.
stop that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
stop
Thank
at
you so
that.
much.
Yeah.
And I think I like the ideas you shared. Like I see a couple of my friends here who are HR people who are also going to be struggling with solving this problem in the next 1 to 2 months. And some of the ideas you have shared here is strong. I like the meal part really because if you provide meals for people, I have a client that I worked with. I worked with a secondary client, not my primary client now, a secondary client that I worked with somewhere down south. And I realized that their staff members are given food per day, but they subsidize the food. So you can go there to eat. So if the food will
Yes.
cost, say, if the food will say will cost, I mean, premium food or premium, because I was there. If the food will say will cost, say, 5,000, you will pay 50% of it. And so you realize that if you carry your, say, 2,500 naira, you will not get this kind of meal outside. And then you bring it. You just want to
True.
come and spend that 2,500 because the company is going to take care of the other 2,500, and then you're done
True.
eating. Some companies still run canteens. Some companies run canteens. I like some of those FMCGs. They,
Hmm.
they run canteens where people just go
Yeah.
during a particular period. You go there, you just go there, eat, and find. And I think it's important that organizations become very creative about these things. Even those who are producers of drinks, to be honest, many of their drinks are almost reaching end of shelf life.
Honestly.
If they don't get it out in time, it may be something that, again, I'm not suggesting anything, but people need to start to think of partnering. The transport system is also
True.
very critical. Um, Again, I think our HR people, our leaders need to check what's the cost of doing all these things versus the cost of putting the money in the hand of the employee.
True.
If the cost of doing it is less than cost of putting it in the hand of the employee, why don't you just do it for them? So people who are proud enough, they want to drive their cars because they don't want to join staff bus, no problem now. After 3 weeks, when I mean everybody will be leveled, and you understand that you have to join the staff bus and the cases. I mean, thank you so much, Larry. We're trying to close in a minute, just very shortly. Unini, I want you to have a final word on what can be done differently, again, I want you to speak from the employee side. I want you to speak from the employee side. What responsibility do you think employees can carry in navigating this new reality where you will not get value for your effort, too, or you'll just be waiting for shalaye, shalaye, shalaye? You're not going to wait for, I mean, an employer will keep telling you, well, I can't make it. There's this. They have genuine reasons. How exactly do you think employees can begin to bear this burden of navigating this new reality?
All right, thank you very much, sir, for that question. So, first and foremost, I would say that it's very, very important for employees to learn how to upskill and position themselves right within the organization. That's career positioning. Now, what do I mean? First of all, you were hired with maybe a bachelor's, and this is 3 years in the organization. You still have just a bachelor's. You haven't done any extra professional certification. You've not learned any skill. You've not brought any initiative on board in the organization, and you're thinking of having the conversation of salary increments. Like, let's be honest, if you are, or if you were your own employer, you would probably terminate yourself because you are not a
Mm,
productive staff. So
Right.
what then can the employees do is you have to think strategically. How can you do your work better? Not just hitting your KPIs and your deliverables. What value are you bringing to the organization? If the organization is tackling a certain problem, you should be asking yourself questions like, how can I come in? What more can I do for the organization? So these questions are very, very important. And then if you can um, um push yourself forward, yes, it will mean extra responsibility for a period of time. Sometimes you might even be doing more for a year above. But trust me, when that opportunity comes up, maybe for a promotion or for salary increments, or when you need to have that conversation with your employer, they will listen to you because you
Right.
have evidences and you have, an arsenal of, points and times when you came through for the organization and they cannot deny your efforts. You have all of those evidences. Oh, I did this, I was on this project, I scaled this, I brought this profit to the business. By the time you have that conversation and you lay all these things out, there is no employer who wouldn't take you seriously. And that is if the employer has not even noticed you already and has thought about it, like, we need to do something for this person. If it's a very thoughtful and responsible employer, they would see you and consider you even before you have that conversation. But there are no assumptions. Trust me, employers like free labor as well. So you can be doing extra. You might be providing these solutions. They are seeing you, they value you, but they are silent. So let's see how long this
I can
person
do
is going
it.
to go
Right.
on this before having that. So you also need to know when to have the conversation. Don't be shy about it. You should know when to have that conversation. Not too early because it's like they will tell you, let's see how it goes, keep doing what you're doing. And then it shouldn't be too long, whereby you are now breaking under the burden and then you're
Mm-hmm.
not compensated for. So you need to have that conversations. Don't think, like let's go back to psychological contracts, which I spoke about, because it's very important and it shapes a lot in employees' behavior. That psychological contracts, you might be doing all of these things, and in your head, you're assuming that my employer is seeing me. My employer sees that this last quarter I did this. I brought this initiative on board. I did that. I did that. Don't assume because the employer might see it but not necessarily take steps. So, you need to know when to have those certain conversations. And so we're spoken about upskilling, we're spoken about having the conversations. And so another thing is you need to learn financial literacy. How can you invest your income, so you're not always the one looking for salary increment. Learn financial management. What what savings scheme do you have as an individual or with your family? What investments have you made? So you cannot just keep earning and eating 100% of your income and be
Mm-hmm.
expecting more every single time. You have to think of how you can make your money work for you. This is very important because it will take off a lot of pressure off you. So even when a lot of people are clamoring in the workplace, oh, salary increments, fuel price, if you have extra sources of income, maybe through an investment or something, some people have businesses, some people offer, certain services off the job that gives them money as long as it doesn't pose as a conflict of interest to the organization. Take, for example,
Right.
maybe an accountant. Weekends you can go do audits for some organizations and get paid for it. So when you have all of these things, you have other sources of incomes, investments that are returned, dividends you've gotten. You're not under so much pressure.
Mm.
You can cushion some of these effects for a while before you cannot add your voice to the cry of, oh, okay, if this happens, good, I'm fine. All right. So and that's very important because it also puts you in a
Right.
better position with your bosses. You can't come and say, I can't come to work, ma or sir. And the question is why? I say because I don't have fuel. And they're thinking like, who are you? What rubbish is that? Do you understand? So
That's
whether you
right.
have
I
the
agree.
or not, they don't care. You have to come because
That's
that
right.
was the agreement. And so even if you don't have, or even if you spend your salary, it's not our business. You have to show up. And so it's always better that you know how to make your income work for you. Honestly, that's I feel like that's the way to go in Nigeria, because even organizations are thinking of how to make their money work for them
Right.
by investing certain capitals or fundings they find a way to invest this. And so
Mhm.
maybe the investment is what is even going into some of the staff benefits. If not, with the rising
Right.
cost of things, a lot of organizations too can fold up. So you don't always expect more, 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 more without having to do something for yourself as well. So a lot of things. Finally, I would say
Yeah.
that employees need to manage their expectations as well. You can't just um, look at the industry, look at certain and say, oh, okay, maybe as Damilari was talking, I mentioned lunch. Somebody might be, organizations give lunch. What is an organization's expectation? And then it starts making you become, cynical about your work and everything. No, learn to manage your expectations. Learn to see what is possible within your own space, within your own industry and
Right.
organization. Truth be told, if you are truly involved in your organization, you will know when the organization is doing well. You will know when there's profit, when there is money, and you know when they are struggling. So you can't keep having certain expectations when it is obvious that the organization clearly needs help or is drowning as well, and then you're having all of these expectations, it would just, cause a lot of tension at the workplace. So learn to manage your expectations as well to also
Thank
avoid
you.
that. Yeah.
I mean, Unini, I told you were going to speak like a mother. You're going to speak like a mother hen. I mean, just caring for the
Honestly,
people. You're good. I knew you were going to come to that point. I mean, I must thank both of you for tonight. And before I let you guys go, um, I've had you say a lot. I mean, Unini, skill relevance is good. I mean, that keyword there was career positioning. I saw a movie yesterday. It's an old movie. I'm Joshua can almost predict the movie I said I saw now. It's Margin Call. The movie is titled Margin Call. I don't know how many people have seen that movie. It's an old movie, but I'm good at I read old books and I read old stuff. I mean, the way I read Bible, which is old, ancient text, is the same way I read all this old stuff because in this world that we live in now, we don't know what is AI generated and what is not AI generated, So you just want to go back to the old rugged things, right? So I saw this old movie and I could tell that if you are not able to get things moving when opportunities dropped on your laps. So the story was by this guy called Eric Dale. He was just one of those that were identified to lose his job. He lost his job. And the guy was like, no, I can't lose my job. I'm working on something very critical. And they said, well, sorry, you have been penned up and to leave. And he left. So while he was going, he dropped a flash drive with his subordinate and said, hey, Peter, take this flash drive. There was something I was working on. I think you should complete it. And when Peter started to work on it, trust me, because Peter had the skill to continue the work that his boss was doing, when the whole company was looking like it was going to crash, Peter got a raise, Peter got a promotion. And you'd be wondering, in a crisis, people still get elevated
Yeah.
because they would tell people who are higher than them to go that the cost of keeping you is high compared to the value they are extracting from you. The cost of keeping you is high, but I can get this younger guy if I give him half of what the difference between your pay and his pay, just half of it. I give 50% of the difference between your both pays. I will get much more than is given. I'll rather let you go. I'll let you go. And that's why the opportunity we have to be able to do more is about our skills. You see, we must bring things to the table. When you have something on the table, the organization also can sacrifice on your behalf. But when you are not good at what you do, what is the moral ground, psychological contract? What is that moral ground you have to start to ask for something fresh? The same way the people will not want to give more to the organization because the organization is not meeting our obligations. And so we all must be better than what we are doing today. And I like that part of honest conversation. Let's have the honest conversation. Oga, let's come to terms with this. I cannot continue this way. I cannot continue. We just moved our office to the island. We're all on the mainland before, and I've worked here 15 years. I chose to live on the mainland because the office was on the mainland. Now you're moving us to phase 4. I mean, where is that place? Ogolongo. I mean, what do you call it? Ogolongo. That's that far places. I am not saying we have moved there. How do you expect me to cope? That honest conversation around it, right? And I think that's good. Only maybe the most important thing I heard you say this evening was that thing about financial literacy. Ladies and gentlemen on this call, no one will ever have enough. As long as our aspirations and goals keep rising, whether as employers or as workers, as long as we have rising expectations, rising goals, rising everything, the resources at our disposal will always remain scarce. Will always remain scarce. Who doesn't want to live in his own house? Who doesn't want to ride a brand new car? Who doesn't want to have uninterrupted power supply if they can build their own power system? While we sat down this corner, I know how many times the light has gone off. I had to create a system where you will not feel the light has gone out. Well, that Milari, you were in that situation too, right? I saw it.
You saw that, Dr. Wiwa.
I saw it. So it was about the same time light went out here that I went out with you. So I didn't know where you were. I was just almost standing myself. I'm sure we're in the same place. Or something in the same area.
We're on the same band.
Now, the truth is you've got to know how to manage your finances. You can never say that you don't have money anymore or I'm spent. Like the lady that told you or the staff that told you that I don't know how to come to work next week. How's that my business? It just shows you that you don't have financial literacy. I mean, I've paid you. Even the cleaner can still come to work. How come you cannot come to work? And ladies and gentlemen, let's note this. Our employers are not responsible for our prosperity. Your financial liberty is not the responsibility of your employer. Don't start putting your financial dreams, all the dreams of your life on your pay. And say, how can a person be working? I've worked now 25 years. I cannot buy land. Hey, did they tell you they were giving you money to buy land? That's not their job. They are paying you in response to your effort. I think this is one area that we need to be very real with ourselves, right? A number of us that work are not financially literate. And a number of people, because they're not financially literate, are also becoming victims of Ponzi schemes. You do CBEX, you do, what's the other one? MMM, you do all this. I mean, some people are going to gambling and betting, sporting bet and all those stuff, just because you are thinking you want to just quickly do these things, right? I believe whatever will last long will take time to mature. People have worked salary jobs and they have become very comfortable. Just let your money know. This is not a financial literacy class, but learn how to get your money working. The employer is also, like Unini said, the employer is also looking for how to invest their money. Maybe your benefits and your leave allowance are even paid from proceeds of investment. You don't even know. Proceeds of investment, what they are using for you. So why don't you also take that bull by the horn? It's okay to demand from employers, and it's okay for employers to do their own bit, but I also think we all have a responsibility to keep up with it. The die is cast now in Nigeria. I know an organization that said they are returning back to what do you call it? They're returning back to work from home. I don't know how many of you heard this. Aliko Dangote said last week. He said the war in Iran is likely going to bring the world back to the COVID era. And what he meant by COVID era was energy is going to be scarce. And maybe all the HR professionals on this call and those business leaders on this call can note this. Energy is going to be scarce. And because energy is going to be scarce, thank you, Damilare. Because energy is going to be scarce, people will not be able to work long hours anymore. I know organizations that say, you know what, we are supposed to be doing 8 to 5. Yeah, let's start coming to work now, 9 to 4. We will save 2 hours of burning diesel. They're also saying, let's not come 3 days. Let's not come 2 days again. We're going to come 3 days of the week. So let's start coming 2 days of the week. Right? And just so that they can save cost. I'm not able to give you more. Let me also ensure that you're not spending so much more. And I think that's one of the things the employers need to be very flexible with. I'm not able to give you more. Let me not cost you to spend the little that you have. Food is expensive. Transportation is expensive. If I'm not going to help you cushion the effect, I should also make it easier for you. Let's close because there's work tomorrow. Let's close. So what I want to just say finally is that fairness is co-created. Damilare co-create with Unini so that Unini psychological contract can be met, right? So it's co-creation. I think managing of the pressure and effective value for your work is about co-creation. I'm expecting you to do something. I'm also expecting you to do something, but both of us are limited. Both of us are limited. And so let's co-create together the things that can enable us go. I want to give you just one final question to both of you at the same time. If work is to remain meaningful in Nigeria's current economic climate, what must organizations stop doing? And what must they start doing differently? If the work that we do today is going to remain meaningful, because some people are already saying, I beg this work, self. Let me just go and open one Instagram account and start selling hair. Let me start selling hair. After all, at the end of the month, all I'm left with is 50K. But if I sell 10 hairs in 1 month, I have 200K. Which one pays me? Are we not all working for money? But beyond that, if work is to be meaningful, because work is not about pay, if work is to be meaningful, Damilare Unini, what should organizations stop doing and what should they start doing differently? One for each of you. Thank you.
Only should go first. Ladies first.
Okay. Onini, what should they start? One stop and one start. Just tell me one stop and one start. One thing they should stop and one thing they should start doing. Just one.
Okay, I would say that organizations should stop assuming that when a staff is silent, they are acceptable what is happening. Trust
Mm,
me, most times when staff are silent, they are plotting their way out of the organization. They are probably already interviewing somewhere, getting
mm.
their contracts and reference checks and everything silently until you just hear the I have to go conversation, and
Right.
then you're shocked. Wow, you're leaving. Why? So most times an employee is silent, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are acceptable of the working conditions. And so that is why it's very important from time to time to do, work survey, pulse checks, you know, just to find out where are the employees mentally, what is their state,
Right.
what are they thinking. And then also, employees should start embracing change. To be very honest, organizations are a replica of the person managing. Let's be very honest. If it's somebody who is old school, you want to see everybody face to face, like is looking at yourself to know that they are
Mm-hmm.
working.
Mm-hmm.
It can't work. You will frustrate yourself, you frustrate your employees, especially if you can't offer better pay. I will give a very quick example because of our time. Um, a CEO reached out to me recently and said she wanted to hire an admin. So she has an institute whereby she has a pool of lesson teachers and then connects them to the various parents, and she gets her own money. And from there, she has built a big company out of this. But she was saying she wants to hire an admin officer who is going to be working 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And she said she wants to pay 100,000. And she said that she gets her a graduate. And I told her, I said, some organizations, corpers don't even earn 100,000. What are you offering? And I told her, Corey, I said, okay, are you willing to do flexible work? Are you willing to reduce the working hours? Because currently, you're even asking that they work more than 40 hours a week, which is
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to be. And then she was like, she doesn't really, currently, everybody works all through. I'm like, no, it
Doesn't
can't
work.
work. In fact, I even
Can't
told her, I
work.
say, you're a BK person. I say, it's not possible. Nobody will take that job. Say, but some
That's
people are
right.
taking the job. I'm like, trust me, they took the job because they have no other choice. Once something
Mm,
better comes, they will go.
that's
And so
right.
people need to be flexible. People
Right.
like employers need to be flexible. So they need to start embracing change. Yeah.
Thank you. Unini says stop assuming that silence equals acceptance. Silence does not mean consent. And silence is not necessarily meaning that I can cope with the situation. And then flexibility. Damilare, Onini has gone
All right.
first.
Thank you very much. Oni, thank you so much for doing the work of John the Baptist. I don't know how to put it. But yes, I've been
I
able
did
to
say
have
your
my two
point.
points. Okay, so I've got 2 points to say, right? So the first one for me would be on grade bands, transparency, and salary, right? So I'm speaking to HR professionals on the call as well, which of course, so for HR professionals, we're not bringing in the money, but we try as much as possible to control costs, manage costs, right? So we need to stop the habit of, short-changing talent, when it comes to pay. So what I'm trying to say is I'm hiring this person. This person is coming into my bank on a banking assistant on an ABO grade, assistant banking officer. And then let's say the budget for that grade, right? Let's say the budget for that grade is 18 million, right? So I've interviewed this candidate. He has everything I need, ticks all the boxes. But owing to the fact that this person is currently on let's say on a 6.5 million annual gross, right? And then the grade I am offering, the package for that grade is 15 million. So I'm asking myself, moving from 6.5 million to 15 million is a big jump. So for that reason, I'm shortchanging that person by giving the person an annual gross package of, let's say, 11.5 million
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
10 million. So to that person, it still looks like, okay, not bad, 6.5 to 10 million. But then the actual budget for that role is 15 million. And guess what? This person resumes, joins the organization, and discovers that the people on the similar grade, they are on 15 because the news will fly. That's just how it is,
Yes.
would fly. So this person is
Definitely
on
flies.
15 million and then
Why
you're
not?
paying me 10
Yeah.
million. So that alone, you've created a disconnect. The person cannot trust the system, cannot trust the organization. Something similar happened in that regard. That was why I had to bring it up. So we need to
Right.
stop that practice. And organizations try to put pressure on HR. You are not bringing in the money, but you need to control costs. But trust me, if the budget for a role is XYZ, even though what the person is earning is 3 times lower than what you want to offer, just go ahead and offer that person that pay. Please, HR professionals on this call, we need to do better. Okay, so
Thank you,
that's
sir.
one.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
so, so the, so the final point for me would be more on learning and development programs, right, for both front facing and back office staff. So there's also a lot of segregation around that part. So organizations tend to focus more on the market facing staff. So because they are the one bringing in the revenue, they are the one bringing in the money. So they tend to enjoy the training, the learning and development bit. So they send them to Lagos Business School for trainings. They'll do a lot of stuff for them. But for the back office operational staff, they don't really send them on trainings because they feel you're just there to do the operational stuff. You're not necessarily bringing in the money. But what you're doing in essence is that you're bringing what we call inequity. And then, of course, it's not going to be fair because the back office staff are like, but we are making the business tick. We are making everything work. So HR is saying, I'm bringing in the top talent into the organization. Finance is saying, I'm the one paying salaries. I'm the one putting structures in place. So why am I also not being sent on trainings and all of that? So I feel organization need to this happens a lot in consulting, though. Big Four, KPMG, Deloitte, and all of that. I'm sure Dr. Miwa, I know what I'm talking about. They just have segregation, and then employees start to leave. So we need to start to rethink how we treat employees, regardless of where they are working. Whether it's
Right.
the most critical part of the business or just operation. Treat them
Right.
equally. You need all of them at the end of the day, right? So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a very great evening, very great evening. And I don't know what you're going to work with tomorrow. If whatever thing you want to go to work with, I think there's a lot. Damilare has told us what to start and stop. Unini has also said so. We've talked about having to improve your skills and ensure your skill is relevant. It's not enough to even have a skill. That has to be relevant to the business. Unini was talking about the fact that if the business is pursuing a particular issue, a particular priority, even if you don't have the skill set, your skill set at that point is not important. It's not as important as the skill set required to solve that burning issue for the business. If you help them to solve that burning issue, you become somebody that is relevant at the time. I mean, she's talked about having honest conversation, financial literacy, and planning. Damilari has talked to us and said, as we go on with this pay pressure, it doesn't look like the pressure is going to reduce anytime soon. The pressure is not like it's going to reduce, but we should start to rethink total rewards. Let's have a lot of non-cash value levers. Let's begin to be transparent and give very honest trade-offs. Onini also talked about honest trade-offs. What can we give? What can we let go? What can we accommodate? What can we tolerate? These things will really help us a lot. Damilari, you also talked about the fact that employers who are not paying attention to this pay pressure, even though Unini has said silence does not mean they've accepted. I mean, if they are not paying attention to it, they risk losing their top talent. And you raised that a very critical thing around seeing a CV and you are seeing 8 months, 1 year, 8 months, 1 year. So for me, I always say these guys are flight risk. I always say they're a flight risk. But sometimes you wonder, I even want to know what exactly, tell me the truth. Why are you leaving the place? Because if I know why you are leaving the place and I solve that problem, does that guarantee that you will stay with me? But if I also see that you are also a greedy person, you are looking for the next 20,000 naira on your salary, the next 100K on your salary, the next 50,000 naira on salary, I don't want to bring you in. I just want to be very sure what is happening here. However, it's a risk that every employer will be facing as they go on. I mean, people's behaviors have changed. Onini said they start to lower their emotional commitment, they start to reduce their discretionary effort. All of these are conversations that we have had. And I want to thank everybody for the poll. The poll, more people are saying that their effort and their pay, they are not at par. More people, 10 of 18 people that took our survey tonight said their pay and their effort, they are not at par. I mean, and that shows that there needs to be something done. I think it's more of trade-off. Only that psychological contracting you said was very critical. I want to say thank you to everyone. I can take one question or two. If anybody's on the call tonight that has a question or two for these eggheads of mine that are here, these people whom we can not pay for their time, 2 hours out of family time. If you have any question for them, I can take one or two. If you do not, I can then take a few announcements and then we close. And I wish you well for the rest of the week. It's going to be a new month at the beginning of this week, right? We're ending the week in 2 days' time, and I'm sure some of you have finished spending your salary. And some people have not been paid. Do you know that? Some people have not been paid. They are waiting to be paid next week. Yeah, some people have not been paid. Some organizations wait till the 30th or the 31st day. That's how they do it. So, are there questions? Is there any question from anybody? Uh, it'd be good to have just one. If we don't have any more, I can take a few announcements and then we will close. If there's no more, only need one final word from you. One final word, and I take an announcement. One final word from you. What would you like to say to everyone on this call as we experience these economic issues at work? Your mic is muted though. We still cannot hear you. Okay.
Okay, I'm muted. I'm
Yes.
unmuted. Okay, thank you very much, sir. So what I was saying is, I would say that to everyone on the call, don't lose hope or lose faith in the organization or in yourself or in the economy. Um, Usually, when things get really tough, it's an opportunity for you to push out from your
Mm,
comfort zone into something bigger. I mean, um, I'm a believer, and it's. I will tell you that trials and tests and trials push us into growth, and that's the same thing. Sometimes it's in difficult situations, your brain works better and you begin to see solutions. You begin to see ways you could invest your time. You could do things web and better and more efficient. So instead of focusing so much on the problem, think about solutions that you can birth from this. Some of you from here, you might become CEOs, you might start your own, have a groundbreaking idea that would blow up into something big. And so
Mhm.
you go from an employee to becoming an employer. So yeah, focus on solution, not the problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nini. Final word from you, Damilare. 30 seconds.
Okay, so I think for me, would just as much as possible encourage everyone on the call, just to also let you know that we'll be fine, really. We are just going to be fine, honestly. Yeah, we're just going to be fine. And then, of course, if you're a Christian on the call, it's just very important for you to know that at the end of the day, God is our sufficiency, right? And like Onini mentioned, those witty ideas, God can just drop it in your mind. Just for recent, I've been doing a lot of research around the principles of wealth creation, right? I just want to know more about, wealth creation. How do I multiply my resources? And somewhere when I find myself doing something like that, I feel it's something, the Lord is laying in my heart, or the Holy Spirit is laying in my heart,
Right.
just to, dig deep a bit. There's something you need to do. So it's something I've been doing recently. So you may also want to do something in that line, and then don't just box yourself to your monthly take home, right? So
Mhm.
there's a lot. We have so much capacity within ourselves, to bet new things that we are not even aware of, right? So the whole of Damilare is not just about my 9 to 5. So there are other dimensions of my life, other expressions of my life that can produce value, right? Which in turn can bring in, more revenue or resources. So it's just about
That's right.
channeling your mind and then just trusting God to open your eyes, to see all of that. And then there's just a lot of, also in this season, there's going to be a lot of, what I call, mind shifts, mindset rewiring, a mental construct that we all need to go through. I'm going to wrap up very soon. I was having a conversation with my brother yesterday, and then I was telling him that I stopped depending on family members a very long time ago. Maybe let's say as far back 2016, when I was going for youth service. And then I remember going for youth service, and then I had just 20K with me, to go and serve in Oyo. And trust me, you're going to camp 3 weeks. 20K literally you can't survive camp with just 20K. And then I wrote to my uncle, at least hoping that the man would drop some extra cash for me. And he just told me that, what, Larry, I don't have anything to give you. Whatever you have, just go. And God will be with you. You'll be fine. And that was what I went with. You can imagine living on 20K for 3 weeks. That was something else. But then what was the outcome of that experience? I started to, rewire my mind in such a way that I'm no longer depending on people to solve my needs. I'm beginning to look inward to see, what are the skills, what are the capabilities that I have to start to solve
Right.
problems. And in
Thank
that
you.
problem, in that, lastly, sir, so at the end of that phase, I discovered I could write CVs, I could do LinkedIn reviews, I could prepare business proposals, and then I was doing all of that, and then I was making extra bucks for myself. But just imagine
Right.
that I found myself in that convenient spot where I just drop in the morning. I probably wouldn't even be able to assess that aspect of me. Then I was also into public speaking as well. So all
That's
of
right.
that bettered those new things. So I just feel this is just that season where we need to go back, look inward, seek God's face, for that new ideas. And trust me, you just never can tell what you're going to bet. Yeah. Thank you.
Looks like tonight is a night of encouragement. You have been beaten by the bug of Unini to give comfort tonight. Thank you so much, Damilare. Let me close tonight by inviting you all to join me next month. Damilare just talked about public speaking, that is into public speaking as one of his side hustles, right? And I think Unini does a bit of public speaking as well. She has a podcast that she does. Amazing thing that she does there. But it's important that you guys join me next month, Sunday, April 19. I'm going to be talking about how to maximize the commercial power of public speaking. There are many ways to earn a lot of resources, maybe not billions, right? But at least you can earn a decent. Only people are asking, what's your podcast? You want to just drop your YouTube link there. Zainab is asking you. Maybe you can drop your LinkedIn, your YouTube channel so she can catch up with the previous episodes. So I'm
All
inviting you
right,
to
I will do
join.
that. Thank you.
All right. So Joshua is going to drop the link for registration of this public speaking event. Don't even bother if you have not even started to earn anything. Even if you have not started to do public speaking, you should still come. There will be an opportunity for you to learn. And right after that, we would go into the April edition of Workplace Conversations, where we'll be talking about degrees, skills, and disappointments, how to fix the broken entry into work. We're going to be having two panelists, Bolere Abari Ifidi. She's an officer, MIS officer in charge of benefits at Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, Bielsa. Yenogwa Bielsa, she's going to be with us on that day. And then my brother, Chukwumeka Prince Uzoma, HR officer at People Plus Management Services Limited, one of the agencies in the Zenith group that has the largest workforce. I think they have a larger workforce. They have the largest workforce of the entire Zenith group, and he's a critical element of that entity, and he's been a very good person to me personally as well. We'll be having the session with them on the April 26th, 2026, 8 p.m. last Sunday of the month. The link is on the screen, and I'm sure Joshua is also dropping it in the chat. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. It's been a privilege being your host tonight. This is 11th edition. We hope to see you at the 12th edition. By 12th edition, we'll be counting one full calendar year. Maybe it'll be a good time to come and let's celebrate together. Having said that, enjoy the rest of your week and remain flexible. Okay? Good night.